You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it! Is that clear? You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immense, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rims, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today.
Good evening, everybody. This is Ron.
And Don.
And this is Ron to the Hills on Radio Free Radio. So if you're listening, you know, you're already on the website, radiofradio.com. We'll go ahead and give out the number right now because, you know, you can call us at any time. The number is 757-848-5920. You know, check us out, patreon.com, Radio Free Radio. We got a pretty good episode tonight. We've been reading this book the past few weeks. It's called The Source Field Investigations, and a lot of it talks about how there's a hive mind amongst all human beings where there's sort of a shared collection, if you will, of knowledge out there if you know how to access it. It's quite difficult as most people don't even understand the chemistry of the brain. You don't understand how it works, so we'll break it down. There's this gland in your brain called the pineal gland, and it is...
Well, before we get there, let me explain the book a little bit.
I'm diving in, bro. I'm diving in. There's only one way to get through this.
You love that pineal gland.
Oh, the penile.
So nice.
Yeah.
All right, so basically what the book is putting forward is there's an energy field that exists everywhere.
It's
I
all
guess you
around
can call
us.
it like the force, but you're part of that. So when
it's a
when
collection
DNA
of our souls.
it's putting forward that there's this energy wave or whatever, and it actually writes DNA. It is an intelligent design, God, so to speak, but it's just like an energy that we're all connected to through consciousness.
It breaks down to what all religions say about
So
how we are
it is
one.
it is all and it is everything, and it's accessible through your conscience.
Yes. And
So
this
that's-
conscience is the soul. This is what
you can
makes,
call it that if you like.
It's what makes us individuals, though. You know, it's what makes me Ron and you Don. It is that energy in the base of our skull that just creates this soul. It creates the imagination. It creates the intuition. It creates the feelings and the thoughts. And I wanted to break down what the pineal gland actually does as much as I can, because I'm no neuroscientist, you know. We're just jackasses with microphones, correct? But Descartes actually believed that it was the seat of the soul. He believed that that's where the soul lives, and everything that is a human being comes from this one place. It's actually in the center of the brain. So the brain, it's not protected by the same
It's
barrier.
not actually part of the brain. It's not protected by the blood-brain barrier. It actually,
Correct.
It gets the most blood out of any other organ besides your liver in your
Kidney.
body.
Your
Or
kidneys.
kidney. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My mistake.
So by that, it's exposed to the most amounts of contamination. That's getting a little bit deeper. So this gland is what creates melatonin. Melatonin, if you don't know, is the chemical that makes your body go to sleep. It's what regulates your sleep schedule. It's what circadian rhythm. It's a derivative of serotonin, which is the chemical that makes you happy and makes you, you know, really care about life. So this gland that creates these chemicals it receives the most amount of contamination, you know, outside of the kidneys. And we all know the kidneys. It's also shaped sort of like an eye, and it has rods and cones. But it's in a completely dark environment, being as it's in the center of your brain. But it has rods and cones, and it's photoreceptive. So it can receive these images of light and dark so that it knows the difference between light and dark, and it's what puts you to sleep. It's shaped like a pine cone.
That's something. It's actually been revered, through time, and symbolized as pine cones and different things. I'm gonna go ahead and post some pictures to the Facebook page right now. If you got that, you can check out some of the stuff we're talking about there. There's actually a giant pine cone statue at the Vatican. There's a pretty interesting Egyptian.
The Pope's staff, like if you look back at staffs of any like historical leader throughout time, you'll notice that there's a pine cone attached to it at some point. And it's sort of a secret homage, if you will, to what the pineal gland actually is. There's no other way around it. Being as it receives the most amount of contamination, it tends to build up a calcification. Brain sands, they're called, I'm not going to try and pronounce what the word is for what they are, but brain sands tend to deposit in this gland as you grow older.
It builds up, in particular, substance called calcite, which is piezoelectric. It's a crystal. It's piezoelectric, so what that means is if you squeeze it, it shoots out a certain frequency.
Isn't that what old radios were made of?
Exactly. Like think of an old radio.
I guess it's the same kind of thing. So, if you will, we have this chemical in our brain, or well, it's not even in our brain. It's just in the center of your head. It's a better term for it because it's right between the spine and the brain.
It's an eye, essentially. It's made up of rods and cones. So, and now
It's
you
the third eye.
got the buildup of calcite, like I was saying, it's piezoelectric. So any kind of contractions or anything in there is gonna send out, light. With DMT, there's also DMT being found in there that it produces.
Well,
But in calcite, it's electricity. So I mean that could be tuned. That could be how you actually get in touch with the consciousness field, I guess.
it would be the energy source of where this field comes from. It's inside of all of us. When we all get together, there's a way of groupthink that starts to happen, if you will. And people will start having the same sort of ideas as other people will. It's because our energy sources are really close to each other. Like if you're listening to this show right now, you feel some sort of connection to what we're talking about. You don't know what we're going to talk about each week because, we figure it out week by week. But this week we're talking about this gland that makes you.
So back to the calcite and it being a crystal and it building up over time, it could explain some things why they say children are more sensitive to paranormal type stuff, like can see ghosts or whatever. It's not being blocked up with this calcite that's sending out electricity into your third eye.
Well, it's not just calcite, too. Fluoride tends to develop in this area.
Fluoride, that is the most highly exposed area to fluoride in your body.
And
that calcifies it.
That's the scariest part about our water sources being fluoridated right there, is having that much exposure to fluoride tends to mess with the chemistry of your body. And the brain especially is, and this isn't even part of the brain, So this doesn't have that same kind of protection the brain does, but it's getting all of those chemicals and it's building up. And what that does is, in the development of this gland happens from 1 to 2, from ages 1 to 2. So around the time when the middle of right now where my daughter is, and I'm seeing how her personality is developing, like I'm watching a human being develop. And right now the important parts are happening, Do you remember when your daughter was 1 to 2 years old?
Yep.
Do you remember the personality that she developed in?
Uh-huh.
And it's an amazing thing to see the things that she can pick up, like with the snap of my finger.
Right.
And it's a development of this gland. I'm watching it in real time. And it's becoming more apparent to me that I think Descartes was right. I think that this is where the soul, it lives. This is where everything that makes me. I wouldn't be doing this show without this kind of gland. I wouldn't be going into crazy topics like this.
Now, here's the thing. Think about it. Think about this for a minute. If your soul was actually just a piece of this God conscience, and when you die, it leaves your body and it goes back. It's all one. So it's not an individual soul. It's like once you die, you lose your individuality.
Now you're getting into okay. The idea of heaven, right, is that you're going to a place where other like-hearted souls are going, and it's a utopia, correct?
Right.
And then hell is this whatever you make hell out to be.
Well, in this particular theory, there is no hell. It's all just the one.
Well, but wouldn't the hell be a lower energy source? Like if you do something very foul in this lifetime, could that affect your energy source to kind of dampen a little bit?
I guess it sounds possible.
I mean, you can walk around and see that there's some people out there that tend to seem to not have a soul.
Yeah, like NPCs, like we talked about with Phantom Spy.
Oh, man. Phantom Spy. I'm not sure that guy has a soul. I'm really not.
I think he lives in the machine.
He might be the machine.
Quite literally.
Man, Ghost in the Machine would be kind of nice right now. If you guys want to give us a call and be that Ghost in the Machine, the number is 757-848-5920. We're just talking about the pineal gland and the human soul and this network we're all a part of.
So if we're in this network, so to speak, all connected by one force, the God force, I totally lost.
What prevents us from actually becoming God? You know, if single human being were to get into the same area at the same time and focus their energy on one task, and now I'm explaining the Tower of Babel.
Well, with this, you are God. So when you die, you're confined to your body.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you access the soul through the pineal gland, which lives not in your body, but in this field, this energy. It is this energy. So you're tuned into this specific frequency that makes up you, your individual self. But when you shed the body and you leave that behind and you just go straight back to one. So with the pineal gland, it may explain some things like with Edgar Cayce.
Oh, man, Edgar Cayce. Continue.
So you got this field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can somehow use your gland to access different frequencies in this field, then you would be able to, get knowledge that you know things, be psychic, basically.
Oh, so the crazy thing that I was getting into at the beginning, the Akashic Records, if you will.
Right. There you go. Tell us about that.
So the Akashic Records, Cayce believed that there is a library of knowledge literally at our fingertips, but we do not know how to access it. I mean, it is in a book, but you're kind of killing me with that one.
It was pretty loud.
So Cayce believed that there was secret knowledge that's just literally at your fingertips if only you knew how to access it. Right now, I think cell phones have kind of made that obsolete because I think Google is trying to play the part of the Akashic Records.
Right, and it's being controlled and filtered
Yeah.
to what you can get. It's not like...
Yeah, so Cayce believed that you would do what's called astrally projecting, which is you would leave your body as your soul and your consciousness would float around in the dimension that is around us but we can't access. Kind of what I was talking about when it came to the Salvia trip last week, but it's really hard to trust these drug-induced experiences.
Right, because all the blood goes right there, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the craziest part
in the case of DMT.
So you brought up earlier the God power thing, and the last time that I did LSD was a long time ago. But I remember thinking that I was God that entire trip, or the 8-hour period there, and then I had the worst headache for the next 2 weeks because I feel like that I accessed a higher part of my brain that I was not ready for.
Right. Maybe taps into something. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so back to Cayce and his astral projection, I completely see what he's talking about, but it's hard to explain that because it's not a tangible thing.
Right.
Have you ever questioned where knowledge comes from? I have, and it's a hard question to answer. Yes, right now it comes from Google and from Wikipedia, but it once came from encyclopedias. Before it came from encyclopedias, it came from libraries. I don't know where I'm going with this one, but at some point, knowledge has to be just uncovered.
Right. People messing around with stuff and writing it down.
And so Casey believed that you could access the Akashic Records, and he did all of these readings, and you can check those out at the ARE Center out.
That's actually in Virginia Beach.
Yeah. We could go there on a field trip one day if you'd like.
Maybe live broadcast would get kicked out in like 2 seconds.
I don't know if we would get kicked out. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe if we cleared it beforehand, we might be able to do something there.
Quite
but
possibly.
So the Akashic Records. What if we were subconsciously accessing this?
Could be. You got that whole thing too. It's like a kind of like a group think, where you've got people working on a particular scientific breakthrough all over the world at the same time without knowledge of each other's experiments. Like,
or we have an idea, and then 2 weeks later it becomes public. You know,
because that's what's on the hot topic on the global consciousness, if you will.
I swear, when they start talking about trade wars, I'm just going to say that, hey, we were completely correct. Ron to the Hills was first on that one. The 25 listeners that we had that night, man, they can attest to that. You know? Even everybody that's listening to this show right now is part of this hive mind that you and I are starting right now.
Right, where it's a hive mind within a hive mind.
It's
like a virtual reality inside of a virtual reality.
So it's sort of an inception that we have subjected ourselves to, if you will.
So if you can access this field, then that would kind of explain remote viewing. We told you about remote viewing a little bit before.
Are we really ready to talk about remote viewing?
It's up to you, man.
I mean, we can talk about it. Which part do you want to start off?
Well, we could just tell them about what it is again, I guess.
Okay, so if you're not used to this one, you've never heard this before. Remote viewing is this theory that pseudoscientists, as Wikipedia calls them, where you can sit in a place and you can have certain attributes given to you, and you can describe something halfway across the world using your mind and no other details.
Right, so you can basically see anywhere you want to.
So it's sort of an...
Now, this has been a CIA method. This has been, I mean, this isn't new. They actually do this. There's this place called theblackvault.com, and they have a collection of declassified documents from all over the place. And there's actually one, it's about a research paper from China that was dealing specifically with this. So basically what they did was they took some kanjis, the Chinese letters, or maybe that's Japanese letters, I don't know. They took their writing, and they put it in these containers sealed off from light with film. And they took their most promising remote viewer, or viewers, and they had them remote view the letter inside of the film. And they found that when they successfully viewed the letter and knew what letter it was and drew it out, it exposed the film inside of the container, and in some cases actually burnt the letter onto the film.
So it tripped off the internal sensors.
Right, so it was like it just you put yourself there as light, almost like
as an energy. You're putting your energy there.
It could be and there was also radiation tests, lots of stuff.
Okay. So I got into it by listening to Major Ed Dames. And one of the stories that Ed Dames told on the Coast to Coast radio show, probably 2006, was about how he and 3 other CIA operatives were remote viewing in a session, and they set off sensors in some laboratory in Britain. Do you know what I'm saying? They had photo-optic sensors in this laboratory,
right?
And in their explanation or exploration of the room to figure out the object that they were describing, because they all say the same thing. Your body's not there, but your energy is there. So there's a lot of that similar hive mind when it comes to that. And you can go check out Ed Dames. You can learn how to remote view at learnrv.com. Man, we checked out that one. And you remember how the first time guy, he talked about how in his first session of after he learned his system, he felt like he was in that room. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like his personal or his physical body was not there, but his spirit was. His energy was there.
I got a little piece of this paper for you. According to initial tests, the majority of persons with exceptional vision, while exercising their capability, could expose film sealed in a light-proof container with Chinese characters, which the subject was attempting to identify. Over 700 tests with X-ray film, over 50 tests with nuclear emulsion film, and numerous tests with ordinary photographic film were conducted. These experiments demonstrated that when the subjects who possessed exceptional vision correctly recognized the characters, they simultaneously produced exposures of the film placed near the characters, as well as other unusual effects. Occasionally, they were even able to project images of the characters onto the nearby film.
Yeah, so they were in the film.
Well,
as crazy as
right.
that sounds, they were in that film.
They produced themselves somehow as an energy to see that.
Man, what kind of power is that if you could take, like, what is inside of you and actually do this? I think I'm going to have to give this one a try.
Well, you're going to have to clear out the old pineal gland.
Oh, man, the pineal gland's got to get cleared. Yeah.
We're going to take a short break.
What we got coming up?
I'm going to play a track off the Human Services collaboration, which isn't out yet. We premiered this on Stories by the Barrel.
Are we allowed?
Fire.
Are we allowed to premiere this?
I didn't ask permission, so probably not.
Man, I'm sorry to whoever else is on this track. I love you, and you're welcome on my show anytime.
So it's got Leah Hart and Justin Waters and Human Services, and it's called Rough Outing. And here it is for your listening pleasure.
It's horrible.
back, baby.
So you want to give out the information here, or check us out on the Facebook page, Ron to the Hills. Check us out, Radio Free Radio, Facebook page, www.radiofradio.com. Give us a call. The number is 757-848-5920. What else we got there?
20.
Patreon.com, Radio Free Radio. There's the Twitter.
There's a Twitter. You can
Ron
hit us up on the Book of the
Hills.
Face. You got a little comment about something we're talking about? Post it up there. Shoot a
I'd rather
message.
you call in, though.
Yeah, but if you're lazy,
Yeah, well, if you're not listening right now and you can't call in, give us a call anytime, The answer machine will pick up, and I'll answer it later on. Probably not. We don't actually have an answer machine around here. But anyways, back to what we were talking about beforehand. The the pineal gland.
the pineal gland and its connection to the God
collective
field.
conscience.
The God field.
The God field.
I like, in the context of this book that we've been reading, that's what we have to consider it. You
Well,
may
I
not
mean, if
believe
we
that
wanted to-
it could be anything you want it to be. It could be.
Let's just be real, though.
It's
This guy,
quantifiable, I'm sure. We just don't know how to do it yet.
this guy probably only knows like 10% of what he's talking about. And that in that 10% is an important part.
Phone's off the hook.
Oh, man. That stinks.
Every time he tries to call in.
So there's a lot of stuff in this book that is kind of crazy, Donald. Let's go ahead and read about this one. Dewey Larson and Third Dimensional Time. In our own reality, time keeps moving forward at a steady rate, barring a few little hiccups and
Should be
glitches.
on the hook if you want to try again.
Are we just not going to try?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. We're having a little technical difficulties here. We're trying to get that sorted.
Continue with what you were talking about.
I was sitting there and I'm talking about Dewey Larson and three-dimensional time. Talking about the concept that time is a dimension, if you will. And they did these series of experiments where Larson asserted that the atom is without parts, that it's a unit of compound motion, with motion being the basic constituent of the physical universe. This means that both the nucleus and the so-called orbital electrons are non-existent. Secondly, he argues that there's no electrical force either involved in the atomic structure. This therefore leaves gravitation and space-time progression as the only two motions that operate inside the time region. So inside of this region, there's two energies that work here. Gravity and space and time. Namely the space-time continuum. All of this shit is crazy. All of it is. But for us to believe that there's any kind of collective conscience that people think alike when they're around each other, we've really got to go into the deep end of things. You got nothing for me?
Nothing.
Nothing. Man,
I'm sorry. I'm working on technical
this is crazy.
issues here.
I know.
Keep
I
going.
know. I know. The technical issues are just kind of killing me right now.
God damn.
So see,
This isn't working. Can you guys still hear us? Are we still on the air?
yeah, we're definitely still on the air here.
Okay.
It's just we're not getting calls in or anything, and it's just throwing off
Well,
the
now
mood.
my setup isn't working.
So
for some
this
reason.
right here, to me, explains kind of what we're talking about. Right now, there's a lot of chaos over here, and it's causing a lot of chaos within me because I'm.
All right. So if there was a God force that you could somehow access, kind of like Star Wars or something, I mean, what do you suppose all you could do? I mean, like, what would that explain?
It depends on the concept, man. Like,
Oh, how do ghosts fit in with that?
how do ghosts fit in with that? Ghosts. Say something really bad happens to you at the end of your life. Say the thing that you love the most is taken from you or violated in such a way that it leaves a mark on time.
So you think it's like a residual energy thing?
Yes. I think that's why a lot of battlefields are haunted, because when you go out to, like, say, the Yorktown battlefield, and I use that one as an example because it's close, a lot of bad stuff happened out there.
Well, we got that back.
Dude,
Oh shit.
Yeah, so the battlefields are a good example because think of a guy getting bayoneted through his throat for the last time in his life. That kind of death is much different than the kind of death of somebody who falls asleep and doesn't wake up.
Well, maybe it's someone that just isn't ready to give up their individuality yet.
I mean, I think somebody could have that kind of drive and rationale to just hold on for the rest of their lives, or the rest of their time that their energy holds on, and haunt the hell out of a place. Because I'll tell you what, man, if I'm murdered in a terrible way, you're damn right I'm coming back and haunting whoever did that to me. You're damn right. And if you disagree with that, give me a call and let me know that.
You can't, they can't. I don't think they could quite call yet, Ronnie.
I'm sure they can't call right now, but that's besides the point. What I'm saying right now is if somebody shoots me in the back of the head, or if I get hit on like a ricochet or something, I'm coming back as a ghost, and I'm fucking with that person as hard as I possibly can. Why?
I mean, you say that now, but you don't know that.
I mean, yeah, I don't know that because I don't actually know how the afterlife works.
Right, you don't know what's gonna happen. You can't say that
Like,
with
we
certainty, man. You cannot say that with certainty. You crazy crap.
No, I say that right
Crazy,
now because it's a thing of like forgiveness. Forgiveness is kind of an energy reset,
Right.
if you will,
You say
in my
it.
opinion.
You say that now because you're stuck in the physical realm.
Because I'm stuck in this space-time paradigm.
But as soon as you get that oneness, I don't think you'll be singing that tune.
Well, I mean, isn't that all that death is going back to the one?
Well, you'll just realize at that point that you're not leaving anything behind. You're still
yeah,
there.
but we're talking about ghosts and how ghosts can stick around a certain spot. Like if something really bad happens to somebody, if some dude back in the day came in and like murdered his family because he was drunk and didn't know what the hell was going on, and then murdered himself in the house, I would never want to live in that house. What about you?
I'd want to live there.
You would want to live there.
Well, I wouldn't want to have my family in that house.
Yeah.
But I would want to be there a lot and like try to find out what's going on. I would be like, yeah, I got my EVP later in my econ.
Man, no,
Dude.
see, it's like this. I'm about to move into this place that I kind of suspect is haunted. Let me find out that this place is haunted, and I'm moving out as
If
fast
that
as
place
fucking
is haunted,
possible.
we're gonna call Phantom Spy, and we're gonna have to do a live
No, we're
broadcast.
handling that ourselves. That's going to be a live episode right there.
Well,
It's going to be amazing.
we got actually we're working on we got some things in the works. I don't want to give away too much, but we're gonna be doing a ghost special,
ghost episode.
and possible guest. Someone in the field.
Hopefully, it's a lot better than the last
ghostbusting.
time we had a guest.
That wasn't bad.
That wasn't
guest
bad
was
at
good.
all. That guest was actually good. I'm thinking back to a couple back.
Oh, you're talking about Phantom Spy? God, that guy.
That guy, man. Hey, at least he can't call in tonight.
Did you try unplugging that filter? I mean, it worked with that before.
So when it comes down to it, yes, I'm a believer in ghosts, and yes, I believe some messed up stuff can happen in an area that caused that place to be haunted for the rest of what you and I know is time. It doesn't matter that like energy can only.
So it's like part of the energy field stuck there.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes down to it, this guy explains the exact opposite of that.
So what do you think that demons fit into this?
Demons are the exact opposite of that positive light that this guy's talking about. You know, where the situation where he talks about how he's growing a plant under different conditions. At one point, he's yelling at the plant. At the other point, he's telling the plant really nice things and the different ways that the plant grows. It's the water experiments. Water, if it listens to a certain kind of music, forms different kind of crystals that are crazier and frantic, while listening to calmer music, it tends to be more peaceful and laid out and nicer, more appealing to the eye, if you will. And I'm a big believer that there's two sides of that energy. As such as there's powerful angels that keep, the good part of humanity around. There's definitely powerful demons on the same opposite side, just to have that balance. If you don't have that balance of good and evil, then you really don't have anything. What do you think about that? Do you believe in demons?
No.
Do you believe in the physical demons of, say, addiction? Promiscuity? The terrible things in life that life can offer you? Do you believe in that
Physical
kind of
demon?
stuff?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a loaded word there, demon. When you say demon, I think demon. not the physical demon of a bad vice. I mean,
You think of the Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering kind of
yeah,
demons.
the heaven and hell, the God
Yeah, work
Satan
that one
demon.
in.
Uh huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the only sort of.
Go there.
Whoa, hold on, dude.
Steal it.
We are not. They're not sponsoring the show yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We gotta
Probably
we gotta,
not ever. All the crazy nonsense that we're talking about around here. What else we got going on, man? We're gonna keep rambling about
All right,
demons.
so check
if
this
not.
out. I was checking out this site I was starting to go to lately. It's like some kind of forbidden archaeology, something like that. I don't know. But they found that there's a city off the coast of Cuba that's, it's a sunken city. We know there's a ton of stuff down there all over the place. But this one in particular, even before in the Pleistocene when it was lower sea level,
Lower sea level.
it would still have been 300 feet underwater. So they would have had to build it underwater. So
they didn't.
the theory here is down there off by Florida and Cuba,
Uh-huh.
there's this underwater mountain range. So they think that kind of, there was all that area in the Gulf was dry. So they found forests under the Gulf. Yeah, you were talking about that
part
too.
was nuts. Where they found the entire forest in the Gulf of Mexico after the last hurricane down
Katrina.
there.
It was after Katrina.
Yeah, after Katrina, this entire forest just appeared south of Mississippi. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was Mississippi.
I'm not
It doesn't matter. It was in the Gulf. So they got basically what the theory is that it was kind of like a land bridge there with Cuba and the underwater mountain range, and it broke through and flooded the whole Gulf out, and that's how come that one was still under sea level. Either that, they put on scuba gear and built pyramids and megalithic structures underwater. 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago.
Well, I mean, with the shifting climate changes on this earth, at some point in time. Now that's a crazy thought to go on. Now, if there's no water in that Gulf of Mexico, where's that water at?
It was in the sea. So it just kind of like broke through. Like, picture when you're at the beach and, you make the little hole and then the water breaks through and it fills up and it equalizes there.
It's a pretty good explanation of what's going on here. So by that same
It looks like we finally got the phones back. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, hello?
Do we have
Hello.
a caller here?
Telephone call. You know what?
What's up?
There you go. There you are, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome
who are we
to the
talking
show.
to?
Yeah, finally got the phones working.
Yeah, who are we
Sorta.
talking to this evening?
It's the Biz.
The Biz. It's the Biz.
What do you got for us today?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what you guys were talking about earlier, it got me thinking of that double-slit electron experiment where subatomic particles that are under observation react differently than when they're not under observation.
So the observer effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The basically the
And it's like
the
going into
watch pot
quantum
never boils.
physics with being in two states at once.
See how much
Yeah, it was the recap on it is when a camera observed the electrons, they acted as particles. However, when no equipment was used to observe the electrons, they acted as waves and particles simultaneously. So it seems that under observation, somehow whatever frequency maybe the observer is tuned into disrupts the frequency wave that the particles ride on.
That's a good theory.
Where exactly does that connect, though? Like, we thank you for that call. That's a crazy thing. So, at my job, I'm a chef. Like, dude, I couldn't.
Oh, right. Go ahead. Your
So
job
as
as
a
a chef.
as a chef, I sit there and I literally watch pots of water to be boiled, and it doesn't actually not work. So that entire theory that's based on is sort of flawed, if you will.
Well, I mean, boiling a pot of water isn't like quantum. I don't think.
But it's the same
Well, I mean,
exact-
I guess it's got some kind of quantum reaction there, but
That's where the saying "the watch pot
Never boils," right.
comes from. Is that entire?
well, what
experiment
about
right there.
the tree falling in the forest thing?
Well, that's something that's completely different, though. Like, basically, when it comes down to that, what he was talking about is the same thing earlier you were talking about with the Chinese when they were experimenting and they were showing that their most gifted observers could look into closed film capsules.
Right.
You know, it's definitely possible, but
And you
The
cut him off.
energy
He
that would
wasn't
be
done,
taken-
and you cut him off. I'm sorry, we're having interference issues with the phone, so we're gonna get you right back on. In just a second. I'm sorry, Ronnie. I didn't mean to disrupt you there, man. Go ahead. Where were you?
oh
at?
no, I'm completely disrupted on that one.
Okay.
We got the caller now.
Just about. I mean, we're gonna definitely improve for this. I mean, what can I say?
Radio Free Radio.
Yeah, baby. You know what it is. It's free, so it doesn't work right all the
Yeah.
time.
I apologize.
Hey, sorry about that.
That was on my end there, sir. Continue with your thought.
Hey,
Yep. Go ahead.
okay, yeah. Hold on. Should I be turning my radio thing down here?
Yeah. Turn
Yes.
that off.
Okay, it's down. No, I was just kind of relating it to the whole pineal gland and like the hive mind thing. You know, just being tuned into something because there's so many different layers of subatomic particles that we just don't even understand yet. But somehow there's certain things about us and just certain things about the universe itself that interacts with those particles, and they somehow influence things that we can perceive.
Now, that being said, do you believe that these particles could have information written on them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, have you been paying much attention to the tests of them actually teleporting particles, where they've actually started encoding it, and they can teleport it, 60 feet or so, and then on the other end, whatever particle, once it teleports, it has the same information encoded on the particle at the other end.
I actually hadn't heard about that
Yes, I mean,
experiment till now.
absolutely.
That's insane. But to me, I mean, so in the 60s and 70s, you had Star Trek doing teleportation and kind of already breaking down the science behind what was happening there. And so just now, 50 years later, we're actually starting to develop that kind of technology.
Yeah, I mean, we can teleport basically the nucleus of an atom from one atom to another over a distance. But
That's
I mean,
awesome.
imagine when we can do that with multiple particles at once, then we might be able to start transporting solid matter.
See, then you got the whole thing about like if you get teleported, are you the same person when you get back? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that whole encoded information thing, that's one thing. But the actual electrical activity within our brain, I mean, I don't know if that gets transferred along with it or if maybe like something new gets rebuilt. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff encoded on that and then all of that starts anew. And I don't know how that would necessarily affect what happens in our brains and who we are as individuals. So that's. I mean, honestly, if they had a teleportation thing right now, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either.
I
No
would.
way. You would.
I would sign up in a heartbeat.
What's the
Actually,
matter
I
with
would
you?
I would hold out for about $1 million and probably a couple life insurance policies in case
It'd
something
have to be
happened.
way more than $1 million.
But I
Hey,
would
man.
definitely sign up for that
Yeah.
because I'm an idiot and I wouldn't have any second thoughts about that. I wouldn't actually think about it that deep.
Man, ain't no amount of money in the world can replace you in your daughter's life.
I don't know,
Exactly.
man. A clone of me that has the same sort of genetic encoding information on me.
Well,
Yeah,
say same genetic
could be some
coding,
improvements.
same exact memories, same exact personality, but it just doesn't have that spark of
But
life,
yeah,
whatever
you
that
pop
may
out.
be.
You pop out as an NPC.
Yeah, but I mean, when it ultimately boils down to it, does my daughter recognize me or does my daughter recognize the life spark that I have inside of me?
Well, if we're all tuned to that same life spark, maybe she does recognize you for
The
a
craziest
soulless
part
Hulk,
about my daughter is that she recognizes people she shouldn't recognize.
right, and her gland ain't all fouled up yet either. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm keeping her away from the same kind of things that I'm doing. Caller,
And
you
also-
got anything else to add?
Yeah, there was one other thing. Have you ever heard of Wim Hof?
I have not.
He's one of the considered superhumans in the world. And he has the ability, you could drop him off in an upper part of a mountain that's just completely frozen over, and he could run for like 15 miles in his underwear, and his body temperature and heart rate will never change.
What's this guy's name again?
Wim Hof.
I'm going to have to
Yeah,
look
it's
this
just
guy
really
up.
worth looking into. He's spent his whole life basically gaining absolute control of his physiology mentally. You could pack him in ice for hours and hours and hours, and he'll pop out, and his body temperature will still be just fine.
Talking
Yeah,
about
exactly.
the
Is that that guy?
Ubermensch.
Is that guy that drinks his own pee?
I don't know if he
Oh,
drinks
my
his own
God.
pee, but
Who's that guy that drinks his
kind
own
of
pee?
it's basically what a lot of Shaolin monks do. Like some of them, they can increase and decrease, and they can basically control every aspect of their physiology through meditation.
Huh.
And those same people also, they see a lot of very deep visions. They get in there,
Right.
they tune into something, I think, that other people just aren't aware of.
I
Right.
think that our lifestyle prohibits us from
Yeah,
that.
knowing what we know about the pineal gland now, they say that what was it? Healthy body, healthy spirit, healthy
Yeah.
mind. So
Yeah.
I mean that makes perfect sense. I mean they're living this lifestyle and they're
You
not.
get out
they're,
what you put in.
They're not getting all that junk up in there, and they're able to access that.
So everybody, clean up your lifestyles, clean up your attitudes, and clean up
And
your lives.
there are also people too where it's that the whole thing is facilitated from the time they're basically born. They're born into that, and it's encouraged, and they're trained by masters.
Yes.
Where us, it's like as soon as we hit a certain age, it's like, oh, you got to worry about getting a job, and you got to worry about locking down a house and everything else, and we'd never get a chance to tune into any of that. And then by the time maybe we become aware of it, it's already too late. Or pineal gland's already calcified over.
Yep.
We sit down and meditate, and we just see nothing but darkness.
Yeah, we as human beings are entirely a product of our environments. So if we're all, raised to tune into that, this would be a very different conversation right now.
I love all
We
of our
probably
listeners.
wouldn't even have radio. We
Yeah.
wouldn't need it.
No, not at all. But at that same time, how much fun is it not actually having those answers? How much fun
And
is
one
it
other
figuring
little
those
thing I
out?
wanted to add in there was that as a musician who's really spent a lot of time jamming with other people, there are those times when I really, really get into the zone. And when I do, it feels like the music's not coming from me. It's like just kind of being channeled through me from somewhere else, and I really have no idea where that
I
is.
used
but
to
I'm
play
always like,
music
wow.
with a couple of
I know what you're
friends,
talking about.
and it was the same sort of thing. We had a revolving room of musicians, and then like one person would come in, one person would leave, and it would change the entire tone of that room. So there is something to that energy field that we create, especially when we have instruments. You got anything else for us, caller?
No,
all
that's
sound
everything.
sound is pretty much vibration. A frequency could be all boiled down to that. You got the God forces as an energy. Calling it that for lack of better words. I mean, I think it expresses
It's
meaning
pretty-
behind it.
Pretty awesome thing.
How do you feel? How do you feel about that?
About the frequencies and being tuned and
how,
everything
how
else.
do you feel about a God force, so to speak, that everybody's connected through one? I mean, it kind of goes along with Buddhism.
I don't
and all that
really
stuff.
like the idea of a God force, because like when I think of God force, I think of like some kind of separate entity that kind of controls everything. But I don't think it all works out like that.
Right.
I think it's just a continually flowing energy that all started from that central point at the Big Bang.
Right, that's not what we're putting forth as. What it is
Yeah.
the God force is everything. It is everything, everyone, everything.
It's the invisible internet that connects us all together.
Which
That I can get behind that. I do think that. I really feel like whatever it is that's flowing through all of us, we can kind of tune in, we can ride the wave for a little bit. But I think just most of us are just so out of touch that we don't know how to stay connected and ride that wave continuously forever.
Okay, well, I mean, look at how our family relationships are encouraged by the system around us, by the TV shows, And if we don't have that kind of connection with the family, how can we have that connection really with other people?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
I mean, the people that are closest to you, they're the ones that you should be the most in tune with.
Exactly. They created you. I mean, hell. I don't know, man. You got anything else for us, though?
No, that's about it.
All right, well, we
Thanks for
appreciate
your
your
call.
time. Thanks.
All right, yeah, have a good one.
Dude, I love callers when they call in and they change kind of what we're talking about, but stay
Yeah.
within the same lines. And I think he brought up a really good point there with the music aspect. And you're in a band. Have you
Right.
noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is weird that people sometimes you just don't feel it though. I mean, but depending on the people too, it's a different energy. It's weird, and it's like, I don't know, when it comes out of nowhere, it's just crazy,
I mean, some of the greatest bands in the world have been created by like taking one person out and putting another person in,
right?
And so there is something to that sort of, you know.
Everybody tuned to the same frequency or whatever.
So I think we've created believers out of all these listeners tonight, man.
Oh, and the phone system is back up, by the way, if you want to call in.
I mean, if you want to send
Titley 20.
you can send us mental thoughts, but I don't
if you
think
call
we'll pick
right
them
now,
up.
we got time for one more.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes here. What do we got coming up next? We got Brian Lewis, Knights of the Round Table.
And
I
they're
don't know
gonna
who
be
he's got on
talking
tonight.
They're going to be talking about body issues.
Body issues.
Body issues.
You got any of those?
Yeah, sometimes I turn into a giant reptile.
Oh man, see, I knew I had you on the show for a reason.
I'm licking my eyeball right now, everyone.
You're licking your eyeball.
I'm licking
He
my
is.
eyeball.
It's kind of freaking me out here. I need these guys to hurry up and get in here, man. So what are we gonna be talking about next week? More craziness. We're gonna go back to the politics at any point. I don't really want to talk about Donald Trump.
Well,
ever
how do you
again in life.
feel before we still got some time, so Donald Trump rocking it. I guess we don't have some time. We got another caller coming
We got
in.
a phone caller here. Donald Trump rocking what?
Donald Trump rocking all them primaries today.
All them rocking.
And the thing that I noticed that stuck out
They
to me the
can't
most,
stop him.
The thing that I noticed that stuck out to me the most is that Kasich took second on most of those places.
Well, it don't matter because it's Kasich Cruz right now. Caller, hello.
Hey,
Hey,
how's that?
Hey.
Gonna say?
who we got here?
I just want to say
Oh man, Phantom
that
Spot.
I looked at the clock and I was like, oh shit. And I stopped what I was doing.
Or you got
and
5
I ran to
minutes.
my computer
5.
and I typed in radio.com
Nice.
and I listened to my favorite radio/podcast thing. And what do I hear? Oh, God. Phones aren't working. Good thing that fucking Phantom Spy can't call. Oh, good. Man, you guys are fucking jerks.
We love you, Phantom Spy.
That's all I just want to say that real quick.
All right. Well, we love you and you. Thank you for your
Phantom
time.
Spy.
All right, I love you too.
Thanks for calling.
Man, that guy.
Nothing like that.
Yep. I wonder.
So,
I wonder.
back to the thing.
Yeah.
Now, Kasich, second place. What?
It doesn't matter.
I guess they're northeastern states, so it makes a little more sense. I guess they're a little more
Yep.
liberal there. So,
Yeah, I mean.
so now,
anything
do
in the
you think it's
Northeast
going
is
to go
Trump.
contested? Because it keeps getting narrower and narrower.
Yes,
man.
and I'm not joking when I say I want to go to the Republican National Convention because that's going to be a fucking crazy, a madhouse.
It is, but it's not a madhouse that I really want to see in person.
I mean, I'm not saying we go in there and we like really see it in person. We go out there with our cameras out, so in case like.
So
police
you want
come
to
after
go
us.
get hotels, plane tickets to Cleveland to go stand outside the
plane
convention?
tickets, man? I'm talking about driving. Take a pen train out
Yeah,
there.
now I'm totally,
You know?
definitely not in with this idea at all.
Well, we got a train station. We can take the train.
Man, people get shot at the train station. We
mean,
were talking about that earlier with Justin. You remember recently?
Have you not looked at the neighborhood of where we're in right now?
Yeah,
People get shot out here too.
downtown Newport News is a pretty bad place.
It is. It's terrible, man. Walking down 34th Street the other day trying to get up to this place.
So
and
now I also noticed that Bernie
Yeah.
won a couple.
it doesn't matter. You know, I've almost given up the burn just because I already know where this thing is going. It's inevitable, man. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, it was
So there's nothing else.
Clinton Trump. That's it,
Yep,
guys.
we love
Thanks
you.
for listening. Phantom Spy, all our wonderful The Biz.
The Biz, you're awesome.
And,
Matt, we love you. Justin, we love you. Rob, love you. I don't know. Anybody else?
I love everyone.
Ron to the hills. Thanks for listening.
See you next week.